Welcome back to your channel. Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories. My name's Mark. I'm 55. My wife Karen is 47. We've been married for 22 years, through promotions, layoffs, raising two kids, burying my father, and surviving more than a few arguments that could have ended us. But we always came out the other side. At least, that's what I thought. Last Friday, Karen told me she was going out with her friends. Just a girls' night, nothing unusual. She'd done it before. I trusted her. Hell, I encouraged it. After 2 decades together, a little space is healthy, right? I kissed her goodbye, told her to have fun, and settled into my usual Friday night routine. A beer, a baseball game on low volume, and the quiet comfort of a house that didn't need anything from me for a few hours. But Karen didn't come home. No call. No text. Nothing. By midnight, I figured she'd lost track of time. By 2 a.m., I started pacing. By 3, I sent her a message. Hey, just checking in. Everything okay? No reply. I called her phone, straight to voicemail. My stomach tightened. Maybe her battery died. Maybe she was in a cab. Maybe. By 7 a.m., I was calling hospitals. My hands shook as I dialed, my mind racing through worst-case scenarios. Had she been in an accident? Was she hurt somewhere, alone? Noon rolled around before my phone finally buzzed. I'm fine. Just crashed at a friend's place. Talk later. Relief washed over me for about 3 seconds. Then the questions hit. Which friend? I typed back. Silence. Hours passed. When she finally walked through the door, her makeup was smudged, her hair messy in a way that didn't look like a sleepover. She smelled like perfume and something else, whiskey, maybe. Who's the friend? I asked, keeping my voice steady. She hesitated. Just someone from the club. We got talking, and I didn't want to drive. My chest went cold. You stayed at a stranger's house? Her jaw tightened. It wasn't like that. I just needed space. I didn't do anything. I'm still committed to our marriage. Still committed? After spending the night in some guy's apartment? I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. But something inside me cracked open. Because here's the thing about trust. It's not just about what you do. It's about what you choose not to do. Karen could have called. Could have texted. Could have slept in her own damn car if she needed space. But she didn't. And that's when I realized the man I'd been for 22 years, patient, forgiving, quiet, wasn't going to cut it anymore. I had a choice. I could scream. I could beg. Or I could do something smarter. Something she'd never see coming. For 3 days, I said nothing. Not when Karen avoided my eyes at breakfast. Not when she spent an extra 20 minutes in the shower, like she was washing off more than just sweat. Not even when she started sleeping on the far edge of the bed, her back to me, the space between us feeling wider than the Grand Canyon. I just watched and planned. See, here's something they don't tell you about betrayal. It doesn't always hit you like a freight train. Sometimes it seeps in slow like poison. 1 minute, you're fine. The next, you're wondering how many other nights she lied about. How many girls' nights weren't. How many times you played the fool without even knowing it. But anger, that's easy. Anyone can scream. Anyone can throw a punch. What's harder, what hurts more, is staying calm. Letting the wound fester just long enough to make your next move count. On the 4th day, I got my answer. I ran into Lisa, Karen's oldest friend, at the grocery store. She didn't know. Of course she didn't. Karen had told her the same lie, girls' night, just needed to unwind. But Lisa had seen her leave the club, seen her laughing with some guy in a fitted shirt, his hand low on her back. I figured you knew, Lisa said, her voice dropping like she was handing me a grenade with a pin already pulled. I smiled, told her it was fine, paid for my eggs and milk like my heart wasn't trying to claw its way out of my chest. When I got home, Karen was in the kitchen, humming. Like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't shattered everything. That's when I knew she wasn't sorry. She was just waiting to see if she'd get caught. So I let her think she hadn't. I kissed her cheek, asked about her day, listened as she talked about work, about the weather, about nothing, all while my mind raced. Because I had an idea. A few months back, Karen had mentioned wanting to start a YouTube channel. Just lifestyle stuff, she'd said. Self-care. Maybe some marriage advice. She'd even bought a ring light still sitting in the box in our closet. What she didn't know, I already had a channel. Small, sure. Just a hobby. A place where I talked about marriage, about life, about the kind of lessons you only learn after 50. No fancy edits. No clickbait. Just me. Until now. That night, after Karen fell asleep, I sat at my desk, the blue glow of my laptop cutting through the dark. I hit record. No script. No rage. Just the truth. My wife slept in a stranger's bed last weekend. I said, my voice steady. And she says she's still committed to me. I didn't name her. Didn't show her face. Just talked. About trust, about respect, about what it feels like when the person you take a bullet for hands you the knife instead. Then I uploaded it. And waited. I woke up to my phone buzzing like a trapped hornet. Ding, ding, ding. Blinking against the morning light, I grabbed it, squinting at the notifications flooding my screen. YouTube, your video has 1,000 views. YouTube, your video has 5,000 views. YouTube, your video is trending in relationships and advice. My stomach flipped. I hadn't expected this. Karen was still asleep beside me, her breathing slow and even. For a second, I just watched her, the way her eyelashes fluttered, the faint crease between her brows. The same face I'd woken up to for 22 years. Now, somewhere out there, thousands of strangers were dissecting our marriage. I slipped out of bed, padding quietly to the kitchen, and poured myself a coffee I didn't taste. My hands were steady, but my pulse wasn't. The comments were pouring in. Bro, you deserve better. She's gaslighting you. This is why I'm never getting married. And then, the one that made my throat tighten. You're not crazy. You're just hurt. I wasn't sure why that one got me. Maybe because it was the first time in days someone had acknowledged that I wasn't the problem. The sound of footsteps snapped my head up. Karen stood in the doorway, her robe tied tight, her eyes still puffy with sleep. You're up early, she said, reaching for a mug. Yeah, I said, sliding my phone face down on the counter. Couldn't sleep. She didn't press. Just sipped her coffee, staring out the window like the answers to whatever she was feeling were written in the backyard. I should have known it wouldn't last. Around noon, while I was pretending to fix the garage door and really just staring at my phone, watching the view count climb, I heard it, a sharp gasp from inside the house. Then silence. Then, Mark. Her voice was ice. I walked inside to find Karen standing in the living room, her face pale, her phone clutched in her hand. What the hell is this? She demanded, shoving the screen toward me. There I was, my own face staring back at me from the video, the title bold and brutal above it. I didn't flinch. You watched it. Of course I watched it. Her voice cracked. You humiliated me. I shook my head. I didn't use your name. I didn't even say what city we're in. That's not the point. She was shaking now, her eyes bright with fury. You aired our private life to the entire internet. I took a slow breath. And you slept in some guy's apartment. Guess we're both full of surprises. For a second, she just stared at me. Then something shifted in her expression. Not anger, not even hurt. Fear. Because she realized I wasn't yelling. I wasn't begging. I was winning. Karen didn't slam doors. She didn't throw things. Her silence was worse. For 2 days, she moved through the house like a ghost. Lips pressed tight, eyes avoiding mine. The only sound between us was the scrape of forks against plates at dinner, the hum of the TV filling the spaces where our voices used to be. I let it simmer. Meanwhile, the video kept spreading. 10,000 views. 50,000. 100,000. My inbox flooded with messages, men my age sharing their own stories, younger guys thanking me for the warning, even a few marriage counselors offering advice. But one email stood out. Subject, you're not the first. The message was short. Hey, Mark. Saw your video. I think I know the guy your wife was with. If it's who I'm thinking, she's not his first girl's night mistake. Call me if you want proof. Rob. A phone number followed. I stared at it until the digits blurred. Proof. Did I want it? I thought about tossing my phone across the room. About deleting the email and pretending I never saw it. But then I remembered Karen's face when she'd said, it wasn't like that. The way she looked at me like I was the one who'd broken us. I called Rob. He answered on the second ring, his voice rough like he'd been chain smoking for decades. Figured you'd reach out. Who is he? I asked, my grip tightening on the phone. Some finance guy. Name's Derek. Works downtown. Likes to mentor women after hours. Rob let out a dry laugh. My sister-in-law fell for his crap last year. Same story, just needed space. Nothing happened. Until it did. My jaw clenched. You have proof. Photos. Texts. He paused. You gonna confront her? I looked toward the bedroom, where Karen was scrolling through her phone, oblivious. No, I said slowly. Not yet. Because suddenly I understood. This wasn't just about one night. It was a pattern. And patterns leave trails. Rob sent the photos at 4:16 a.m. I should have been asleep. Instead, I was hunched over my laptop at the kitchen table, the glow of the screen painting the room in cold blue. The first image loaded, grainy but unmistakable. Karen mid-laugh, leaning into a guy in a too-tight dress shirt. Derek. My stomach twisted. The next photo was worse. His hand on the small of her back, fingers dipping just below the waistband of her jeans. The timestamp, 11:08 p.m., 3 hours before she'd supposedly crashed at a friend's place. But it was the third picture that stopped my breath. A text message. Derek, still coming over? Karen, if I can sneak away, winky face. Sent at 9:42 p.m., before she'd even left the house. I closed my eyes. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. Somewhere outside, a car alarm wailed, then cut out abruptly. I wanted proof. Now I had it. And it changed nothing. Because here's the thing about catching someone in a lie. It doesn't heal the wound. It just confirms you weren't crazy to feel it. I grabbed my keys. The diner was one of those 24-hour places where the coffee tastes like burnt rubber and the vinyl booths crack under your thighs. Rob sat in the corner, a Yankees cap pulled low over his eyes. He slid a manila envelope across the table without a word. Inside, more texts, more photos, a receipt for a hotel room dated 2 months ago. This guy's a predator, Rob muttered. Preys on married women because they're less likely to make a scene. I stared at a photo of Derek arm in arm with a blonde woman who wasn't Karen. Who's this? His wife. The irony tasted like acid. I shoved the envelope back. Why show me this? Rob leaned in. Because guys like him count on guys like us to stay quiet. He tapped the photo. His wife doesn't know. Your wife thinks she's special. Only way this ends is if someone breaks the cycle. I thought about Karen's face when she called me embarrassing. I thought about Derek's smirk in every damn photo. Then I pulled out my phone and opened YouTube. Let's break it. I didn't hit upload immediately. First, I went home. Karen was asleep when I walked in, curled on her side of the bed like nothing had changed. I stood there watching her for a long moment, trying to reconcile the woman in those photos with the one who'd picked out our daughter's first prom dress, who'd held my hand at my father's funeral. Had she always been this person? Or had I just refused to see it? The video took me 3 hours to edit. I kept it simple, no dramatic music, no flashy cuts. Just me at the kitchen table, the same way I'd recorded every other video. Only this time, I held up one of Rob's photos, Derek's face blurred, but his distinctive wristwatch clearly visible, and laid out the timeline. This isn't just about my marriage, I said quietly. It's about accountability. I didn't mention Karen by name. Didn't have to. The internet was already connecting dots. Then I dropped the bomb. And if you're Mrs. Derek, yes, he has a wife. You might want to check his phone. I uploaded it at 6:15 a.m., just as the sun was bleeding through the blinds. Then I made breakfast. Karen found me scrambling eggs when her scream cut through the house. Mar! She stormed into the kitchen, phone trembling in her hand, her face a mask of pure panic. Take it down. Now, I turned the stove off. Why? Because you're ruining lives. I laughed, couldn't help it. Funny. I thought he did that. Her breath came in short bursts. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. Not embarrassment. Not anger. Fear. That's when I knew Derek had seen it. And he was terrified. The first call came at 8:37 a.m. Unknown caller. I let it ring out. The second call came 3 minutes later. Same number. Karen was locked in the bedroom, her muffled sobs seeping through the door. I stood in the hallway, staring at my buzzing phone, knowing exactly who it was before I answered. Mark. Derek's voice was slick, like oil on water. We need to talk. I leaned against the wall, suddenly exhausted. About what? Your watch collection. I hear Rolexes pair well with adultery. A sharp inhale. Then lower, you have no idea what you're playing with. Funny. I glanced at the bedroom door. I was about to say the same to you. Silence. Then click. I pocketed my phone just as Karen's door flew open. Her makeup was streaked, her eyes red raw. She clutched her phone like a lifeline. He's coming over. I blinked. Here. He says, her voice broke. He says if you don't take the video down, he'll what, Karen? She looked at me then, really looked at me, for the first time in weeks. And in that moment, I saw it. She wasn't scared for him. She was scared of him. The doorbell rang at 10:08 a.m. I've been expecting a suit, some slick finance bro with a Rolex and a rehearsed speech. But the man on my porch looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Derek's collar was wrinkled. His eyes were bloodshot, and his hands, those perfectly manicured hands from the photos, shook as he shoved them in his pockets. Let's not do this here, he muttered, glancing at my neighbor's house. I stepped aside. Karen was already in the living room, arms crossed, her nails digging into her sleeves. The air between us crackled like a down power line. Derek didn't sit, just pulled out his phone and threw it on the coffee table. A text thread glowed on the screen, his wife's name at the top. She knows, he said, voice hollow. Your little video got back to her before breakfast. Karen made a small, wounded noise. I picked up the phone, scrolled. Wife, how many others? Derek, just her. It meant nothing. Wife, the hotel receipt from May says otherwise. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then Derek did something unexpected. He laughed. A bitter, broken sound. You think you won? He looked at Karen, then at me. She tell you about the loan yet? Karen went very still. My pulse spiked. What loan? Derek wiped his mouth. The $18,000 she borrowed from me last month. Said she needed it for her sister's medical bills. He smirked. Funny thing, I called her sister yesterday. She's perfectly healthy. The room tilted. Karen's voice was barely a whisper. You promised you'd never tell. And just like that, the game changed again. $18,000. The number bounced around my skull like a bullet ricochet. Karen had never mentioned a loan. Never mentioned needing money. Her sister was fine. Hell, she just gotten back from a Cancun vacation 2 weeks ago. I stared at my wife, but the woman in front of me felt like a stranger. You lied about the money, I said slowly. What else? Derek cleared his throat. I should. Sit down, I snapped. To my surprise, he did. Karen's hands fluttered to her throat. Her usual composure shattered. Mark, I can explain. Start with the money. My voice was eerily calm. Where did it really go? A beat of silence. Then, barely audible, the casino. The air left my lungs. 3 months ago, Karen had started going to book club on Thursday nights. Came home flushed, claiming it was the wine. I should have known. Derek shifted uncomfortably. She lost big at blackjack. Came to me for a bridge loan until payday. His lips twisted. Then she kept losing. I gripped the armrest to steady myself. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a pattern. Lies stacked on lies, debts hidden under affairs. Karen reached for me. I was going to pay it back. With what? I jerked away. You emptied our daughter's college fund last year, saying the roof needed repairs. A sick realization dawned. The cracks in our marriage went deeper than Derek. Deeper than any affair. I stood abruptly, my chair screeching against the hardwood. Both of you. Get out. Derek didn't need telling twice. But Karen. Mark, please. I was already walking away, my mind racing with one terrible thought. What else don't I know? I waited until the taillights of Karen's car disappeared down the street before moving. The house was too quiet. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the grandfather clock we bought at a flea market years ago. Our whole marriage felt like that clock now, a pretty facade masking hollow mechanics. I went straight to the bedroom. Karen had always been territorial about her space, her dresser drawers, her nightstand, the cedar chest at the foot of the bed. Everyone deserves privacy, Mark. Funny how that word, privacy, had become a weapon. The box was tucked deep under her side of the bed, covered in a layer of dust that told me it hadn't been touched in months. No lock, just a faded shoebox from a pair of Nikes I'd bought our son in high school. Inside, a stack of casino receipts dating back to 2019. 3 maxed out credit cards in my name, but not my signature. A checkbook from a joint account I'd closed 2 years ago. And a folded piece of notebook paper with a single sentence scribbled over and over like a madman's mantra. I can stop any time I want. My hand shook as I picked up the credit card statements. Thousands in charges at Atlantic City hotels, luxury boutiques, wire transfers to offshore accounts. All while I'd been clipping coupons, worrying about retirement, trusting her. The final blow came when I flipped over the oldest casino receipt. There, in smeared red ink, was a date from 5 years ago, back when Karen had claimed she was visiting her sick mother in Florida. The same weekend my mother had actually died. I barely made it to the bathroom before vomiting. The knock came just after midnight. I was sitting at the kitchen table, the box's contents spread before me like evidence at a crime scene, when 3 sharp raps echoed through the house. I wasn't surprised to find Derek's wife on my porch. Lena Radcliffe looked nothing like the polished blonde from the photos. Her hair was piled in a messy bun, her eyes puffy from crying. She clutched a manila envelope to her chest like a shield. "We need to talk," she said, her voice raw. I stepped aside. She didn't sit, just dropped the envelope on the table next to Karen's casino receipts. "How much do you know?" "Enough to know I didn't know my wife at all." A bitter laugh escaped her. "Join the club." Inside the envelope, bank statements showing wire transfers from Derek's business account to Karen totaling $42,000. A second cell phone bill with dozens of calls to a number I recognized as Karen's old burner, the one she claimed was for work emergencies. And the kicker, a life insurance policy taken out on me last year with Karen as the sole beneficiary. Lena tapped the policy document. "This is why I came. Whatever else happens, you should know about this." The room tilted. $2 million. Paid out in case of accidental death. Lena's voice was barely a whisper. Derek's company specializes in high-risk policies, the kind where they don't ask too many questions. I suddenly remembered Karen insisting I take up kayaking last summer, her buying me all that gear, pushing me to go alone on the river. How convenient it would have been if I drowned. Lena stood to leave. At the door, she hesitated. "One more thing." She pulled a folded photo from her pocket. Karen and Derek, grinning under a Vegas sign. The date stamp, our 20th anniversary weekend. When Karen had supposedly been at a spa retreat. I didn't walk Lena out. I was too busy calling a lawyer. The law office of Hartman and Pierce smelled like leather and expensive coffee. I sat across from Diane Hartman, a razor-sharp divorce attorney with a reputation for eviscerating liars, as she flipped through the documents I'd brought. Every page turned felt like a guillotine dropping. "Mr. Collins," she finally said, removing her glasses. "I'll be blunt. Your wife isn't just a cheater. She's a predator." A cold sweat prickled my neck. Diane tapped the life insurance policy. "This? Textbook motive. The casino debts? Means. And Derek Radcliffe." She pulled up a database on her laptop. Turns out his financial consulting firm has 6 wrongful death suits pending. The screen showed a news article about a hiking accident, a wealthy client who'd plunged off a cliff weeks after taking out a policy. The widow's photo made my blood freeze. Karen's college roommate. This isn't coincidence. Diane slid a retainer agreement across the desk. "But here's the problem. You've been posting about this online. My YouTube channel." "That's protected speech," I said. "Not if she claims defamation." Diane's pen hovered over a clause. "And given what we've found, she'll come at you hard." I signed where she pointed. As I stood to leave, Diane said one last thing. "Don't go home tonight." I didn't go home. Instead, I checked into a motel off on 95 under a name I hadn't used since my bachelor days. Tom Reynolds, the alias from my old fishing license. The room smelled like bleach and stale cigarettes, the kind of place where no one asked questions. That's where I was when my phone lit up with Karen's third call of the night. I let it go to voicemail. Her message played on speaker, her voice syrup sweet. Mark, baby, I know you're upset. Let's talk face to face like adults. I'm at the house waiting for you. A chill crawled up my spine. She wasn't just waiting, she was luring. Diane's warning echoed in my head. Until we subpoena those insurance documents, you're a walking liability to her. I powered off my phone and peeled back the motel curtain. Outside, a pair of headlights idled in the parking lot, a black SUV with tinted windows. It hadn't moved in 20 minutes. My lawyer's investigator had texted me a photo earlier, Derek's new vehicle. Stay clear. I slid down the wall, gripping Diane's emergency burner phone. The legal process would take weeks. The financial freeze even longer. But out here in the real world, Karen was already hunting. The investigator's email came at 3:17 a.m. Subject, you'll want to see this. Attached was a marriage certificate from 1998, Karen's name beside a man called Daniel Brewer. 2 years before we met. My coffee went cold as I read the coroner's report beneath it. Daniel Brewer, age 31. Cause of death, drowning. Found in bathtub with BAC of 0.22. No foul play suspected. The life insurance payout, $750,000. Paid to Karen Elizabeth Brewer. The motel walls seemed to close in around me. All those times Karen had joked about my clumsy shower habits. The way she'd always volunteer to mix my drinks. A new voicemail pinged, Diane's investigator, his voice tight. Mark, we dug deeper. Daniel wasn't the only one. There's a pattern here. Call me back only on this secure line. I stared at the grainy photo of young Karen in a black widow's veil, accepting an insurance check. Suddenly, the $2 million policy made sense. She wasn't just coming for me. She was finishing what she perfected. Diane's plan was simple. Make her desperate. We leaked a fake bank statement to my public email, showing a sudden $3 million inheritance from a fictional uncle. The perfect motive for Karen to act fast. Then we waited. 3 days passed with eerie silence. Then, on a rainy Thursday evening, my old neighbor called. Mark, you need to see this. His security camera footage showed Karen entering our house at 2 a.m., not with Derek, but with a wiry man carrying a toolbox. They emerged 90 minutes later, the man wiping his hands on a rag. The investigator froze the frame, zooming in on the toolbox's label. Valley Electric, licensed and bonded. My knees buckled. Karen hadn't just lied. She'd rewired our home. The trap was set for Friday at noon, when Diane's investigator confirmed via tapped phones that I'd be returning home alone to settle the estate. I wasn't. Instead, I watched from an unmarked van across the street as a SWAT team in plain clothes entered first, sweeping for tampered wiring. The lead officer's voice crackled through my earpiece. Master bathrooms rigged. Live wire in the showerhead. Kitchen sinks electrified too. This is premeditated homicide. My hands shook as I gripped the dashboard. 22 years of marriage, and she turned our home into a kill box. Then came the shrill alarm from the investigator's laptop, Karen's car approaching, 2 minutes out. The team vanished into hiding positions. I held my breath as her Lexus pulled in. But it wasn't Karen who stepped out. It was Derek, pale and sweating, clutching a notarized envelope like a white flag. And that's when I realized. She'd sent him to die first. Derek didn't even make it to the porch. SWAT intercepted him in the driveway, his knees buckling as they slapped cuffs on his wrists. Through the van's audio feed, I heard his panicked babbling. She made me do it. The wiring, the insurance scams, all of it. Check her safety deposit box at First National. The officers read him his rights, but Derek kept talking, his voice cracking like a man who'd finally seen the abyss. The first husband. That was her idea, too. She's done this before, twice that I know about. A detective held up a hand. Before Daniel Brewer? Derek's laugh was hysterical. Who said anything about Daniel? My stomach dropped. The investigator immediately pulled up a new search. Missing persons plus Karen's hometown plus 1990s. 3 hits. All men. All married briefly. All vanished before Daniel's bathtub accident. And then the kicker, a fourth name from her college years, a fiancé whose light plane mysteriously crashed. The lead detective radioed headquarters, his voice grim. "We've got a serial." Karen's face splashed across every news channel by sundown. Black Widow killer suspect on the run. But I knew the truth. She wasn't running. She was hunting. The safety deposit box yielded a passport, $217,000 in untraceable bills, and a list with 4 names crossed out. Mine was fifth. They found her at 3 a.m. on a private airfield near the Canadian border, dressed as a flight attendant, calmly boarding a jet under an alias. The arrest was quiet. No struggle. No denials. Just Karen smiling at the cameras like she'd already won. At her arraignment, the prosecutor played her jailhouse call to Derek. "You'll never prove the early ones. No bodies, no crime." But the knockout punch came from an unexpected source. Lena, Derek's wife, handing over Karen's leather planner. Inside, meticulous notes on every victim, including me. Mark, kayak accident, electrocution, undecided. The courtroom erupted. I just sat there, staring at the woman I'd slept beside for 22 years, finally seeing her clearly. She met my gaze and winked. Because here's the sickest part. After everything, the lies, the betrayal, the murders, that wink was the first honest thing she'd ever given me. Epilogue. The YouTube channel hit 2 million subscribers. I used the ad revenue to buy a cabin in Montana, no waterfront, no basement, just a very visible front porch. Sometimes at night, I'll get an email from a guy whose wife seems too perfect. I always write back the same thing. Check the life insurance.